Welcome, everyone.
Hello, guys. Can you
Hello.
hear us?
Yeah, I think we have about enough
5.
attendees to start, so we should be good to go. I'm not sure I can hear everyone here, but how is everyone doing today? Drop into the chat where you're coming from. How did you hear about the webinar if you have a moment, and we'll start shortly. Just waiting for a couple people.
Right,
All
let's see.
right, we have a full house almost from Minnesota.
All right.
All right, Colorado.
Colorado.
Oh, from Robin. Okay, our land pilots
Oh,
joining in.
nice.
Yeah, we'll devote a specific session just to this collaboration. Absolutely. Join us on Thursday as well. That one will be with Robin. So hope to see you there too. All
Greetings to
right,
Chicago as well. Oh, okay.
Detroit, Chicago, all over the place. I
Yep,
recognize some names here as well from the past experiences.
yep.
Nice to have
Me
you
too.
all here. Welcome. It's a real pleasure having you here and hosting this Land Week. It's a challenge, but it's also something very, very pleasant to us to have a chance to speak to the wider community, to talk a little bit about what it is that we do for done for you services, but also in general, what done for you services can help land investors with. This is something we had many questions about over the last couple of months, even years. It's been very in demand, so to speak. So it's, how would I say it? We are more than thrilled to have you join us here. I hope that we'll get some more people on, but it's good to start right now. So, to give you a little bit of an introduction about who we are and what we also do, my name is Steven. I've been working with launch control for the last 5 years, within the Done For You services for the last 2 years. And then my colleagues and account manager, Sadie, joined us. So we are thrilled to have you with us. And my job right now is mainly to run the operation. Uh, we introduced or are introducing multi-channel, so this is something that a lot of you have been asking about as well. And my right hand here, Sadie, is our main account manager on the service. So any questions that you have, feel free to post in the chat. We'll have a live debate if possible, and we'll also devote a section of the webinar in the end to the Q&A section as well. So feel free to post questions along, raise hands if you want to speak up, if you want to ask a question on the spot while we're covering some topic. And with that being said, Sadie, is there anything you would like to say to introduce yourself to the community?
Yeah, just briefly, I guess. So, hello everyone. My name is Sadie. Unlike Steven, I've been part of launch control for a shorter period of time. So, I've been here for some 2.5 years. Started off as a customer success manager, but then transitioned into the account manager for the launch lead services. And I think, Steven, if I'm right, I'm nearing my 1 year anniversary as being part of the launch leads team. So I'm very happy about that. I'm seeing some faces here that are already on the service, which makes me really happy. But yeah, I think we're ready to start and we're going to try to make this as fun as possible, of course.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sadie. To guide you briefly through the agenda for today. We already went through the introduction, so we wanted to cover first why would done-for-you services matter for a land investor like you, uh, core done-for-you services, and then a little bit of an expansion into the multi-channel, as well as how done-for-you services help investors scale. And finally, the self-assessment in terms of whether this is the right thing for you or not, what might be some of the pitfalls. We will also devote as much time as needed to your questions. So we want this to be an open panel as much as possible and not like a, lesson of any kind. So just wanted to guide you also through some of the numbers, some of the achievements, some of the expectations with at least our done for you services, but also what you may be able to find with other done for you services that might not be under our compass right now, but still important to mention. So we already went through our introductions. We found out some of the participants where you are from. So I guess there's a lot of different experiences, a lot of different markets. But I would maybe leave it to Sadie to open up and in this year on the managed services, give us a little bit of a intro in terms of what you think land investing success mainly depends on.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, so much. So, as you guys may see on the screen, something that we um, confirmed based on everyone that has come to the Launch Leads service is that they needed help with consistent follow-ups, meaning nurturing of the conversations, making sure they don't leave someone behind, or keeping up with that because it can be demanding if you are a one-man army, if you're someone that doesn't necessarily have a team behind you, or if you just find that you have lack of time to handle this on your own. So apart from land investors that have come to us on the managed services, we have also clients targeting residential properties likewise that struggled with this part as well. So this is something that we have seen in general has been the pain point for our clients who came to us and who needed help with the platform in general. Um, I did want to ask you guys if you're willing to share what marketing channels you're using at the moment. Is it only SMS or is it as well some other marketing channels as well? If someone wants to raise their hands and speak up or just using the chat, that's also fine. Like Steven mentioned, we are introducing other marketing channels as part of our own. So I think that that's the main reason why we're curious to see, okay, blind offers for land, okay, SMS and direct mail mostly. Okay, hi Roy,
Yeah,
direct
those are
mail.
those are our standard approaches, so to speak, and also why some of the investors turn to us is because they are juggling between multiple marketing channels and they need to outsource at least a part of it. So we started out as launched managed services um, sometime around when I was still new to the company, around 5 years. That managed services program included cold calling, not so much direct mail. Then over the years, it morphed into just the texting when I started being the account manager on the service. And we decided that because we wanted to do what we do best first and then build up on a very good foundation because even just by doing texting, we figured out, our way in to other marketing channels and how they work and how these channels connect with each other. So we were building up on that experience and it led us to being brave enough to want and have the ability to expand into other marketing channels. So I believe that with this new done for you service, you will also have the opportunity to diversify and outsource all of it, which is something that people have been asking about. So, just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction around the history of the managed program and why we are asking about other marketing channels. Because the way we see it, texting is a very good opener, but and some people will agree with me that it's not the best way to build rapport, but it is a good way to open some doors for us. So even if we need to transition to the call or maybe send mail, it's still a really good starter and the most personalized one. So I hope that that kind of covers why we are asking this question. The next section is related to why would done for you services matter in 2026. I guess anyone can have some input related to that, but the way we see it and talking to land investors in the space, there are multiple challenges, especially in this day and age, but also in the past, that take away from the success or kind of run you into the ground if you are not uh, how would I say it, dividing your time efficiently and also your energy, right? So some of the things that investors juggle, maybe Sadie, you can also cover this part if you want, just in terms of something that may be missing here.
Hmm.
But these are all multi-step processes, right? So maybe you can help expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, of course. What typically investors juggle is sourcing, meaning they need to get lists ready, contacts ready that are going to be potentially someone that they can benefit from, of course. They need to juggle between multiple marketing channels. They need to make sure that they're out there as much as possible so they can actually have deals closed. They handle offers and negotiations. They also have sightings, so they go personally to see the land, to talk to the owner, to see what's happening on that end. Negotiations that happen most often over the phone call, but sometimes in person as well can take a lot of the time. And it's not necessarily something that you can do during just one conversation, but you keep coming back and having multiple of those before you actually agree on the price and everything else. You handle closings, all the costs that go there as well. And I think that that's something that I wanted to connect with the actual beginning of this slide, which is why, of course, all of this leads to that conclusion that I feel like it's completely normal that if you have a small team or if you're a one-man army, that this can be very challenging to juggle. Something that I would add here as well is speed to lead, or something that we've seen it's very, very important, is to be able to get to everyone, at least everyone that has shown a remote interest, like, oh, I want to hear more, tell me more about it. I'm willing to talk. Whatever it is, I think it's very important to get to that person as soon as you can. But if, like I say, you struggle with multiple things at a time, sometimes it's really, really hard to do that. So that's why we put a big stress on like the real-time handoff and um, being able to get to someone who's interested at that moment. Um, if this is not being done, leads can go cold, not just because you don't reach out to them in a timely manner, but also because um, they require more attention, right? Not all of them are going to be willing to go on a phone call straight away. So you need to go back and forth in conversations with them, ask them questions, basically make them feel special so they gain enough trust in you to move things forward, and being willing to go to the next step. But yeah, anyone that's time sensitive should be handled as quickly as possible. And this is how our team can step in and do that for you, essentially.
Absolutely, very well said. And I can't name a person that I worked with that hasn't struggled at least with one of these things. Maybe, in the chat box, you can leave some of your experiences around any of these specific parts. Did it made you lose deals? Did it made some conversations go cold? One other thing that I think is important to mention that might not be listed here, there are probably multiple. And the other part of the coin that is extremely important to be on top of in this day and age is related to compliance between the channels as well as for every single channel, specifically so that we make sure that our channels are communicating well enough with each other, at least to the extent where we know who doesn't want to be contacted. It does sound pretty simple and pretty easy, but knowing what we experience with our clients, there might be multiple situations where there might be a disconnect or things falling off so that we are not removing the people that need to be removed from the outreach. So, have you maybe as investors working directly with the sellers, have you experienced any sort of struggle with any of these, I would say, equally important priorities? Either in the chat box or you can, of course, raise your hand and you can talk. Maybe just the most difficult part. I guess, everyone struggled with just one of these in the past, but maybe we could just say what would be the most difficult for you as an investor, or maybe as an investor when you were starting out. A lot of us kind of remove some of these obstacles through experience, but overall we struggled at them at one point or the other. So if there's anything like that, that's a good point, good topic to cover in more detail, as well as how a done for you service can help you overcome these challenges. So feel free to expand.
Yeah. Dennis said the time it takes replying to all the SMS batches is exhausting.
That's a
Exact.
very good point. A very good point to bring up. One other thing that at least heard from the feedback is not only is it exhausting to reply to all of them, but it's a bit exhausting to sift through that much negativity on a daily basis because, as we know, the majority of the responses will not be what we want to hear exactly, right? It's not always going to be a yes, or it might be a question, or it might be an objection, or it might be just someone telling us, the bad side of it. Either way, having someone do that for you and only give you more qualified opportunities, so to speak, on a silver platter is something that in the long run, it really adds up, right? It really adds up to your mood. How do you feel about doing marketing or doing it through a specific channel? Many investors I work with would say, like, I'm overwhelmed with all of this negativity. The channel is dead. The channel no longer works. But, it's just a matter of them going through so much negativity that in the end, they don't really feel motivated to keep doing it day to day. So that's a very, very good point raised. Dennis, thank you for that. Is there anyone else that may have a different kind of struggle? We'll wait a little bit for the chat box or for someone to speak up.
Something that I've noticed as well, based on the feedback now that we have started talking about this, is not just replying to everyone, but the way in which you should do so. There are different type of replies that you can get, and based on that, there is a different procedure that you can do, let's say, like, or how can I say, best practices that should be applied. For example, if someone says, I'm not interested at this point, but you can reach out to me in the future, there's like an option in the inbox to add a reminder for yourself so you can manually follow up, for example. And there we also have drip automation sequences, which are automated messages. So I feel like a lot of people that I worked with when I was outside of the launch lead services, I was just a customer success manager. they would be oblivious to these features even being there. And then we would like constantly remind them like this is what you should do. This is what is recommended in this case scenario. And I feel like once they manage that, it's much better, but still it really depends on what plan you're on. So if you're on a bigger plan, it can get really overwhelming. So yeah, I think we're there to make sure all of those features are taken care of and utilized and um basically everything is maximized. Yeah.
Absolutely. And those features are there to help us, right? So I think why not use them if they're gonna, make our load a little bit lighter. Connecting to what Dennis said as well about the replying to all the batches being tiring. That's why we also have the quick replies because in the end, or the more you do it, the more patterns you can recognize and kind of get ahead of. And the quick replies we have, even the drips, right? Because the drips can be an automated sequence as opposed to a quick reply that's just a single message. We can craft an entire, so to speak, preferred workflow in our head, even regarding how many days will pass between the messages, so that we, don't even need to send a reminder if we know our sequences well.
Yeah.
And for each of the messages, of course, to be crafted with value for the end recipient in mind so that they actually get something out of it. So that's a big, big part of, being on top of all of these tasks, at least from the SMS side of marketing, without, being overwhelmed. So the platform itself, it is designed with some of these features for that exact reason, but we know that's not all, right? For example, it can help you prepare an offer, do your due diligence, um, or even, see the property, which is a big part, as well as the inspections and everything else. So uh, I guess we covered the marketing part of it, and the rest of it, of course, we can dive into more details either on the Q&A or, at any point, feel free to cut us off. Um, but I think this was important to say. The next part, I guess, is related to something that done for you services are doing for you that we haven't mentioned in that much detail. The first would be, of course, saving you time, saving you energy, right? What we mentioned at the beginning briefly. Um, so you don't have to pull the list and skip trace it and upload it into launch control and create the templates and work on a sick day because you don't have anyone, right, to be there for you. Um, and then doing all of that at scale and staying organized. So one benefit, I guess, with the Done For You service is that we are there to be consistently with you even when you are not there for yourself. And I find myself mentioning that a lot of times. Like sometimes it feels that we are more consistent for our clients than they are for their own business. And everyone has their side of the story, but we are there to keep you accountable for your business even when you feel down. And you can look at it from a good angle and the bad angle, as with anything in life. But when you are really positive about it, I guess that's a very important part of marketing. Not to give up, not to slow down when everyone else is slowing down, and building your business for scale. So I can't imagine how much time we save for our investors looking at the average reply times that we have and that we'll touch up on a little bit later, but also how we stay consistent. For example, we expect people to provide us with the most, like the freshest records possible. And then even if they can't do it and they don't provide enough data for us to, be consistent with initial outreach, we supplement that by using follow-up campaigns. And then you, as the business owner, as the decision maker, you don't have to really go into the system and tell us like this is the campaign I want to work with, or this is the campaign you should prioritize. We agree on a lot of these things up front, and then we just do the execution for you, right? So you, as the business owner, you have more time to think about other stuff. But I guess in a nutshell, that would be probably the three main benefits that we decided to highlight. Let me look into some of the. Okay, yeah, for Mark, are we providing the records for the campaign? Yes. You can provide us with the owner records, right, or the seller records, and we can do the skip tracing for you. If it's going to be done through our skip tracing provider, then we can do it for you. Usually, all of our clients, they are in charge of the data they provide, and then we are in charge of executing and reporting on it. I hope that helps answer your question, but please let me know if there's anything else you wanted to know.
I think this
And
is
of
actually
course,
the only thing, sorry to interrupt you. I think
go
this is
ahead.
the only thing that we actually need our clients to do consistently outside of the platform, if that makes sense. So it's just being able to give us enough. Yes, launch control is doing skip tracing. So it's only in this case that we're able to do this for you, of course. But if you're doing skip tracing on your own or pulling the data on your own, then what we do is when we receive the list, we're the ones importing it into the actual platform and then also reporting back to you with the results. So how many prospects we got out of it, how many numbers, mobiles we're able to text, etc. So you're kept in the loop about those numbers and how much it will be enough for before we need like another list based on what plan you're on.
Yeah, the bulk of the communication between us and the clients is related, of course, to having a feedback loop on the leads that we are sending, but also when we need more data. I guess that will be something you will hear from us more frequently. Of course, some investors, they have tons of data that they supply up front, and then we don't have to touch up on that topic for a long time. With other investors, it's basically daily communication. Well, not that much for land, but I'm still gonna touch up on that. Like, people who are sending us more time-sensitive prospects, like probates, people in pre-foreclosure, something that needs attention right away. They might even send us daily lists, but they have, of course, a very small and limited amount of prospects. With land, I guess the data providers for land are a bit more, how would I say it, broad. So that's something that we just take over and communicate with you about. And then to make that differentiation, because I noticed that launch control is doing skip tracing, just to give you an idea, uh, the managed services is called Launch Leads. So if you decide to go with the done for you service, then we can take over the skip tracing for you. If you are just using Launch Control as a subscriber on your own, we do have a section of the platform that's related to skip tracing that you can use our skip tracing provider with. And the process is pretty much the same, except that you have to do it on your own, right? So that's what I wanted to make a difference because people often mix up launch leads and launch control, right? The way we see it, those are two separate services, or launch control would be just the texting platform and the volumes you get with those. And then the launch leads will be the done for you part of it. That's it. Um, Regarding some of the stats, I thought this would be very useful for our investors to know. We, are doing our own market research, but also looking into our own platform and all of the users and what they report to us, especially for launch leads, because we have a bit of a closer relationship, not because, for any other reason, but because we're so involved day to day. So we find out more of these details on a day-to-day basis. The main drawback when it comes to, or the main pitfall, is that investors are not doing enough follow-up, and maybe even they do enough or too much of it, but it's inconsistent, right? So, oh, okay. So when it comes to the deals that fall through, what we notice very often is we texted someone once and then we kind of give up on them if they don't reply or if the initial reply is no. And then when we maybe figure out or change our mind a few months down the line and we choose to follow up with them, the next reply we get that we don't want to see is like sold, right? So if it's sold, it had to go to someone. And by, using a sort of a done for you service where you are not entangled in training and everything else that you need to do to keep your team accountable, you have someone that will kind of put your mind at ease that someone is doing that follow up in the background and touching back, right, or going back to the part where we just hand off the lead to you when they are ready. So that's a big burden off your back as a business owner. And then from the feedback we got, at least over the last 3 or 4 years, 80% of all the deals that happen on Launch Control as the platform is a result of a follow-up. So when we talk about follow-ups through Launch Control, I guess, Sadie, maybe you could explain a little bit around what type of follow-up we have or what types we have and how to differentiate them, because I know that's an often a point of confusion as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have essentially two different ways of following up with a lead in the platform. The first one are the follow-up campaigns. Those are primarily, only reserved for non-responders. So anyone that we initially texted and that hasn't replied in the 30-day period of time, they become available for that follow-up campaign. Again, believe it or not, many customers that are not even aware of this being a possibility, but so many deals actually come from those follow-ups, as much as 80%, as you can see from the screen itself. Um, I think there may be several reasons for that. Sometimes it's not the right moment when you initially texted them. Maybe the person that received the text at that moment was in a hurry. Maybe someone simply forgets. There may be various situations and reasons why someone wasn't able to initially reply to you, but basically we give them a subtle nudge, but by that second time, and we're able to do that 3 times through follow-up campaigns. So we're able to text them initially. That's the first time, and we can follow up 3 more times through follow-up campaigns with that person, making sure that, again, they have enough time to think about it in case they change their minds. Um, and it gives us also enough time to not necessarily spam them in between. So that's the first way of following up with someone. The second way is through a drip campaign. Now, the main difference between these two is, like I said, follow-up campaigns are reserved for non-responders, whereas drips are reserved for people that did reply but then they had a specific type of answer. It's depending on that we put them on a specific drip. So, and to also make sure you guys know, a drip is a sequence of messages that are automated. So we basically have everything set up in advance. We have the actual day when the first message is going to go out, and every following message is also time-based. So everything is predetermined. Um, and the system basically does it for us. The only thing we need to actually do is physically put them on a drip, and that's it. So we have two types of drips that are most commonly used. The first one is a short-term drip, that's for warm leads, and then we have a long-term drip for people that are not interested at that point. So the warm drip for warm leads, or the short-term one, is for anyone. Okay, I'm gonna get to this question in a second. Just let me answer this first or continue with this first. So, short-term drip checks in more often, let's say every 2 to 3 days, with leads that initially had a positive answer, but for whichever reason they stopped replying to us. So instead of us losing time and keeping track of everyone, because there are there is a substantial number of people that may do this, we let the drip do this for us. And then on the other hand, the not interested drip or a long-term drip, whatever you want to call it, is for people that basically tell us, even though I'm not interested right now, you can keep contacting me in case I change my mind, in case something else happens. And that drip typically checks in once every month. So it sends a message every 30 days for us. So that's something that's really important. Let me go through this question. 80% of what? What are you considering following? For example, if
Well, we mean both, actually. The way I
yeah.
see it, I would say we mean both of it because that's why we have two different types of drips, right? One would be, and this is something that commonly happens on this type of service where we are just, let's say, for example, just handling the texting for you, and then your acquisitions team is doing the calling. We send you a lead today for a call, right? That maybe raised their hand. Your team tries calling them on that day, but you figure out they are not picking up the phone. The usual workflow with between our two teams, so to speak, though I like to see us as one team, right? The goal is the same. So they just pass back the lead to us, and then, let's say the lead agreed on a call for like 5 p.m., right? And they don't pick up at 5 p.m. because they already replied to our text. We might even text them manually, like, "Hey, we tried calling, what's up?" And then the other route for that would be the warm lead drip that might do it in an automated way and might not do it on the exact same day, but they'll do it the first thing tomorrow. So the drip will touch up on that lead instead of us and ask like, "Hey, what's up? We tried calling you and you didn't pick up."
Hmm.
Because that lead already replied to us and they saved our number. Like 99% of the time, it's going to be land investor or whatever we give them, but that will be the first part. And then the second part is related to being consistent enough to follow up even with people who didn't say they want to sell right now, to the point where if anything changes, which Sadie touched up on, or maybe they know someone who wants to sell, we are top of mind, right? As opposed to any competition in that market, it's a competitive environment. So anything, any little thing that we can do to be on top of the follow up and catch someone before the competition does, it's a big step in the right direction. So I would say both.
Yeah, most definitely.
And
And I
there's
always
another,
love,
go ahead.
no,
I'll go back to it.
I always love to include those manual follow-ups. Why? Because they're more personalized. So we always basically feel the room and see if we already established some kind of a relationship with the lead that we've been texting back and forth with. We are typically going to go for that manual follow-up. So we set a reminder for ourselves and then we go back in tomorrow or day after, always keeping in mind like the non-spamming manner. Like we don't want to be like, what's up, like all the time, but like, okay, give them some space so they can get back to us. If they don't, then again, manual follow-ups are more personalized. But for someone that just initially replied, I'm interested, and then he never got back to us, I think it's good to put them on a drip instead. Or even try giving them a call, really depends. But I would say that is like the third way of how you can follow up with someone apart from drips and apart from follow-up campaigns. Yeah.
And equally beneficial, if not more, right?
Yeah.
That's the part of the handoff where if we are so dialed in as a team that your acquisitions team tries calling the lead at 5 p.m. when it was agreed and they don't pick up, they are so fast to inform us that we re-engage with them at like 5:05, right? That's the difference you get with using this kind of communication, because drips are great, but they get scheduled for the next day. So, we get some more personalization and time efficiency with that. So absolutely crucial to have. The last ratio I wanted to touch up on, I know it's not related directly to the amount of deals, but it's related to the optimal ratio of dividing your initial and follow-up campaigns for non-responders that Sadie explained a bit earlier. So the ideal ratio between initial and follow-up campaigns that we observe is 80% in favor of initial campaigns. So we use this for many reasons, but the main reason would be that the data quality is usually better for the initial campaigns, and all the good numbers that we like to see uh, in the good, right, in the green, uh, those are related to follow-up campaigns, and then the initial campaigns, and then the follow-up campaigns are like a buffer that we use. So to go back to a situation where you as an investor, maybe you gave us data consistently enough for like 3 months, and then after the third month, you start feeling like the more and more lists you're pulling for the same area have more duplicates, more DNCs, less viable potential in your eyes, then we use follow-ups a bit more uh, to the point where you basically can get fresh data for your area again. And then because of 80% of the deals happening through follow-up campaigns, you can, combine that compound interest effect that you get with follow-up campaigns with your basic cold outreach, right, or initial campaigns that you run usually. So that would be something that, we can build for scale based on your subscription plan. It will be different, of course, the amount of leads we can take. And then the second piece is related to us monitoring your data quality and figuring out, okay, like, if your data quality is bad, we may need more leads in order to keep the same level of consistency. But think of it in 80/20 principle, and it should be much clearer to you how this game should be run. And of course, the last thing we didn't touch up on at all is that uh, outsourcing your business processes can reduce your costs and increase your operational efficiency. I wanted to give you just one example that is pretty common with our investors where they hire a VA, they spend like, 3 to 4 months training them, evaluating them, having them report on their activity, just so they figure out that in the end it's, that's not working for them. Or the person that they hired finds a different job, they leave the company, and then you're back to ground zero. You have to teach a new person everything and make sure they're accountable. So with outsourcing at least a part of it to a company that's been doing it for years, you can, get rid of that anxiety related to this. So if your VA, with launch leads goes on vacation, there's always another VA that is equally good, that's been trained, that's been in-house for years, that knows your business based on our initial screening and setup process, that they know your business well enough that they can just step in. And if you don't like them, we can give you someone you may like more. And when it comes to the training and evaluation part of it, we do that for you as well. So, not just blindly taking over your list and just blasting it to infinity, but actually zoning in and even going granular into the performance. So we track their reply time, we track their conversation rate, how persistent they are with the leads, if they're following the procedure that we agreed on. And it's a constant work in progress and continuous improvement, but it is a big burden off your back when you add it to everything else, right? These are all little things, but they add up and they make a difference. So without the numbers, I guess that would be a good analogy to connect it with. Now, when it comes to the core done for you services, we touched up on some of it. We didn't touch up on everything. So just to give you an idea, and I'm sure you know this already, it includes done for you texting, dialing or cold calling, uh, doing direct mail for you. And then the benefits you get is, of course, goes without saying. We talked about it for the last, I don't know, 45 minutes. So the benefits are all there. But when you are doing multiple channels at the same time, they come with their own challenges. So one thing that you get with Done for You is also that we're open enough to hear you out, like in terms of how you've been doing it, and dial that in, right? Or maybe completely flip it on its head if you like how we suggest doing it better. So not only do you hear what other people are doing, but you can also, so to say, choose your own path, right? So there's not one way of doing marketing properly, but it is supposed to be the way you want it done, and also in a way that it drives optimal results. So, we may start with the texting, follow up with the calling, and then follow up with the direct mail, or we may start with direct mail, follow up with the text, and do the calling. So the order of things doesn't matter that much as our agreement does. So just, wanted to give you that clarity that we can do it in any way that you want us to do it. If you ask us for how we recommend doing it, we will give you several options based on feedback where both workflows produced results, or maybe three of them, and just, see where that gets us. And also quickly switching if the results are not there, right? So we have an exit strategy for all of that. Um, oh, okay. We'll save this part for later. But either way, I guess it's coming up pretty soon. So we'll touch up on that. Um, Regarding this section related to multi-channel, are there any questions related directly to this? Sadie, did I miss saying anything by by chance?
I don't think so. I just think that it's great the fact that we are introducing all of this. You have a centralized place for everything, and you can also choose which combinations you want. If you want to do done for you texting with the cold calling, or if you want to do texting with direct mail, or if you want to do all three, there are different packages that you can take advantage of, and maybe reintroduce something else along the lines. But I don't know if we should mention like the in-app dialer that already exists in the platform. That's also
Why
something
not?
new. I don't think we've had a client yet that's been doing this, but it is possible. So, in case you want to do calling on your own, or someone from your team wants to do calling on your own, we have recently introduced an in-app dialer into the platform itself. So, whereas before you weren't able to receive any incoming calls from the leads, nor were you able to make those calls yourself from the platform, now you're able to do that. And I know that that has been a complaint from some of our customers and launch leads clients, because they weren't able to uh, give them a call from the same number that they texted them from, which sometimes did create confusion. So they were like, if they try calling me, they're routed to my other phone number, and sometimes they get confused. So if that's something that you feel like would be like a hurdle, and that's something that can be dealt with by also having the in-app dialer. It's not something that has to be done, but it is an option, and I feel like it's worth mentioning for sure.
Absolutely. And even the direct mail integration, I believe we are about 90% there. So very soon you will also have the option to run your direct mail campaigns through Launch Control, even if you are not doing it as a done for you. So there would be different, ways we could think about this. So maybe Launch Leads will do just the texting for you, you do the calling and the mail or whatever you want. But the exciting thing, I guess, is that you'll be able to do all of it out of one place, and that's what can, in the end make a great difference. So if you are looking to integrate, you know that we have a success team. So when you sign up, you'll have someone dedicated to you that will walk you through the platform, teach you how everything works. If it's not you doing it directly, but you hired a VA to do it, they'll do it for you and your VA or just your VA. Either way, we got you covered when it comes to education and how things are being used for success. So when it comes to that, be free to talk to us, to our success team as well on the launch control side, and figure out what is the best way for you. But either way, the capability will be there and the functionality. So I'm very excited for what's to come, and not to go away too much from the question that we got asked related to what a conversation means for us. I think this is connected to this part related to lead management and qualification. So what we mean by conversation is, of course, not if we just send someone a text and then they reply to it. That would not be a conversation because it's not a dialogue, so to speak, right? We said what we want, they said what they want, and that ends. That's not really, flowing both ways. So we consider something as a conversation if there were at least three back and forth conversations between us and the prospect. Then we are following that, or six or more, or 10 or more internally. So, we can figure out based off of that who may be, even if they said no, at least, or the least you can expect from us is that we will ask them if it's fine for us to follow up with them. And then that flow of like, hey, I'm this investor, I want to buy your land. Are you interested? They would say no. We would ask them to follow up. It's not going to close there unless they say no, right, to the follow up. But if they say yes to the follow up, even that conversation won't end there. So that's why we mentioned drips a little bit earlier, because we want, the way we see it, we want to continue the conversation until a lead either opts out because they're genuinely never going to sell to us, or the better case scenario, they're going to be ready for you. So when I started working with a launch control, I believe the average time between the first touch point and deal being made was around 4 months. Now, in the recent years, it went up to 7 months. So in the way we see the drip sequence, that would equal to probably 8 or 9 touch points from no, not right now, but you can follow up to, hey, I'm ready now, and you're the first on my mind. So I guess that should help answer your question, but please let me know if it's not enough, and we'll expand on it a little bit more. This section is devoted specifically to what qualifying questions we may be asking and what expectations we can set. So I think it's a fitting place to discuss, even though I know we'll get to the numbers a bit later. So Sadie, you have plenty of experience as well. Maybe you can help me guide the listeners or the guests here through what some of the qualifying questions may be, and also what different workflows we support.
Of course. So yeah, some of the most typically asked qualifying questions that we try to answer for you is how long they've been in the possession of the land. We try to determine whether there are any utilities such as power or water available on the land itself. We try to determine whether it's zoned for residential, commercial, or anything like that. So we try to determine the zoning for that land. We try to see if it's buildable or if a structure was already raised there or not, or if not, if it can be. So if it's buildable or not. We also try to see if it's landlocked because we know that can create some issues along the line. So those are some of the most typically asked questions that we try to solve for you before sending them over. We do try to set expectations with clients from the very beginning that not everyone will be willing to answer those questions. So like I said, it's all about feeling the room and seeing if they're willing to answer those or not. In some situations, we're able to, for example, get them to answer two out of those four or five and then send them to you. Or we are sometimes able to get the answer to all of those questions. Really depends, but we always try and we always try to guide conversation in that direction. So you have something to work with, you have some things already covered before you actually pick up the phone and call them yourself. Again, this saves a lot of time, and I know we mentioned this several times here, but I do feel like it's important because uh, the overwhelming feeling that we mentioned, the lack of time, it all comes down to this. I feel like filtering of the inbox is one of our crucial roles here. So you end up talking only to those people that A, have a real motivation, two, are interested. Maybe they don't have motivation at this point, but it's safe to keep them in your pipeline for the future. Like Steven said, if we're not following up with them via platform, um, you can follow up with them on your end should they asked to be called first, and then you had a conversation with them and they're like, okay, I will keep you in mind, like you can call me in like a few months. I think it's very, very important to build that contact list of possible deals that you can get in the future, not just for right now. So you don't have to do that filtering on your end. And I feel like that tremendously reduces the time so you're able to focus on what really matters. And when it comes to the lead scoring and the workflows that are mentioned here, this is what help us tremendously do this. So when it comes to the lead scoring, what we mean by this is what we would consider a hot lead or what we would consider a warm lead to be. So a hot lead essentially are the type of leads we want to see most often, of course. Those are people insisting on getting on a phone call right now, or who just were really positive from the very beginning. Yes, tell me more. I want to hear more. I'm very interested. I am selling. I am actually looking for someone. So, like I said, whenever we can, we push for those questions to be answered first before sending them over. But to be fair, if they are insisting on a phone call over and over again, we do try to push them right now because it is a moment that needs to be taken advantage of. And I think the practice has shown at times if we don't do that, it can backfire. So, like if someone requests a call, I think it's better to call them right now. Of course, if it's not possible, we try again by communication with our clients to set that expectation with the lead as well. I think that's what really matters too. Since you're going to have like a thread conversation open between the person managing your account and yourself, your lead manager is going to be able to communicate that with you in real time. Like, hey, this person is asking for a phone call right now. Like, what can I tell him? And if you're like, okay, I'm free, we set that expectation right away. If you're not, then we tell them when you're free. But of course, it's the best for those that are available right now to call them as soon as you can. And we also have SMS workflows basically. So we create a visual SMS workflow for your specific use case and business and everything that we were able to find out about what you do on that initial call or the screening that we had with you. So it's either me or Steven that have that initial call with you. And we try to visually represent it for the future lead manager who's going to be taking care of your account. So they know, okay, if this person says, for example, I'm a buyer, it's based on what you tell us. If you want us to transfer them over to you or not, that we send them over or we keep them in the platform. Like that's just like one simple example that I can give. We also can, we also often talk about like a buy box, and it's in accordance with that that we can determine basically if you'd be interested in talking to someone or not, if they give us like a ballpark figure that's like too high or too low. So we basically, from all the information that we receive directly from you, we're able to implement that in the way that we work for you in the platform itself. So the more details we get, the better. And this is all subject to change. So if you're like, okay, I'm not interested in doing that, I don't want to talk to everyone who says yes or everyone that we didn't really determine if they have motivation or not, we can easily change that.
Very,
Nice.
very well said. I'm very happy to hear that much of an explanation because I think people here deserve it. We can extend. I know that webinar is for about 1 hour, but we can stay and answer all of these questions and go until the end of the presentation for anyone who has time or feels like they will get some value. Feel free to stay. We're not limited. Um, when it comes to Mario's question, I know it's a bit long, but I guess the point is whether or how we would appear to be a bit more knowledgeable about a parcel that we are talking about with the prospect. Usually, this is not something we would include in our first message, but it is something that we can develop with our clients. Like one thing that we could, for example, work together on would be to get a list priced up front in terms of the offer range or value that you see in that piece of land. And then we can immediately price qualify the leads for you. Are they within that buy box or not? And then the second thing is, of course, for residential properties more so than for land, we use Zillow as a reference point. But if you provide us access to your land ID, and we have clients who are, very open. Some of them even give us their CRM access, so we have everything in one place. We've been doing land comps as well, based on the proximity and other factors that go in there. But I guess the answer is yes. We can work with you if you give us the tools you are working out of. For example, this is a very like basic one, right? If we are looking for vacant land, and you give us access to your land ID and the lead says, yes, it's vacant, and we go into land ID and we figure out, oh, well, it has some trees there, or it has a barn or something, right? Then it's completely natural that our lead manager will be like, well, I see from my mapping software or whatever we put in there in the workflow, right? I see that it has some trees, like you said it's vacant. So can you please help clarify that a bit? So yes, the answer is yes, we can help you. But right now, even though we're in the process of integrating directly with Land ID, just as we are already integrated with Zillow, we can do that for you. And when it becomes available, I mean the launch control and ID integration, then we'll be able to directly access the property from Land ID. Right now, we need your login, right? That's all we need. Of course, if you have any specific instructions, we can also work through those. Basically, the flow you have when you sign up for Launch Leads, first you have an onboarding call either with Sadie or with myself. And then as we start texting, of course, we don't just leave you to case. We actually sync at least once a week, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever workflow suits us best until we get all of these things dialed in to your satisfaction or to our mutual satisfaction, better to say. And then it's just feedback loop and data delivery, right? What did you do with these leads? And we need more lists. That is I guess, the sweetest part of this conversation. Everything else we prepare for well in advance, and we try to cover it from every side. We can't naturally cover every single situation because you know this better than I do. Even every piece of land is different to another piece of land. So I guess the business is the same. Um, and then when it comes to things that we may not or may do for you under the umbrella of managed or done for you services, we are not preparing contracts for you or scheduling closings. We can, in some very rare situations, if we are a texting and appointment setting service, or that's how we started. So we can set an appointment in your calendar for you if that's what you want, absolutely. But usually, the closing schedule it happens when the lead is already in your CRM. So, I guess someone from your acquisitions team would be the one scheduling that, or maybe even you personally. That depends on how we agree as well. Then coordinating with buyers and sellers, meaning like disposition, right? That piece is usually on you. There are some programs like Land Pilot that we'll be touching up on Thursday. That includes both launch leads as your texting provider, and then Robin and his team for the disposition side as well. So that can happen with some other done for you programs. Skip tracing we touched up on a bit earlier. We can do it for you if you show us how it's done and it's a quick process, or we're doing it through our platform. 10 DLC registration, we handle that for you. Website creation, if you don't have one, we create one for you. So that kind of falls under our scope. The benefits, I guess they're already listed, but what I mean by reducing mistakes is, for example, we know exactly how it needs to look like in order to work well with the carriers. So assuming that if you tried it on your own, you may make some mistakes, and it leads to us waiting time on top of the time, wasting time on top of the time we need to wait for the carriers to approve of a registration. So we save you time with that, and we make sure that it's exactly the way the carriers want. So that is something that we handle for you. Of course, even on launch control, if you just sign up as a user, we will help you through the 10 DLC process, but I guess this is a bit more dialed in with the website creation. So just wanted to let you know that is what we cover and what we don't cover at this moment. Of course, if anything changes, you'll be informed by us as your account managers or through marketing. So that goes without saying. Anything you want to add here, Sadie?
I think what's maybe interesting to mention is that we don't have any additional charges for taking care of your 10 DLC or creating a website for you. I know that some other SMS platforms do charge additionally for that. So we do it completely free of charge. And like I said, our support team handles it and can guide you through everything step by step in case you want to do it on your own, you want to learn or anything like that. They will be able to basically provide you with details on how to do it on your own.
Absolutely. So yeah, when it comes to how this helps us scale, I guess that was the topic of the entire thing. So I'm not gonna, spend any more time considering we're already overboard. But when it comes to us specifically, and I guess some of you were interested in some of these metrics earlier, we are priding ourselves on being extremely responsive, with 95% of responses going in under 2 minutes. Of course, you know that that doesn't mean, or it shouldn't mean, lower quality. So just because we are well prepared doesn't mean that, that we can't drive more conversations. It actually means the opposite. The higher conversation rates, this is something we've been measuring for the last 2 years. So we keep improving these metrics, right? Or we keep improving our reporting on these metrics, but the overwhelming feedback we were getting, and even our numbers on the platform, because we are following on one side like how the entire platform is performing, and then just the specific launch leads use case, and we notice a dramatic increase in the response time and conversation rates, meaning we are going with the leads back and forth more than an average user on the platform. And you can see how, just by how much more. So it is significant. And then we have different expectations from clients, and also different situations when it comes to how many qualified leads we've sent. You can look into some of our case studies on the website, or you can look into some of the testimonials we received from our Launch Leads clients for this. But depending on the subscription plan and the quality of the data, we can, give you the averages for each subscription plan that you can expect for your acquisitions team on a day-to-day basis, or weekly, or monthly. Of course, there are outliers, as with everything else. Some people have really bad data and we can't really get to this point. Others have extremely good data, so we go well above this point. But this is like a pretty solid example of what you could expect on at least the core plan. So I guess this client that we had 120 qualified leads in 3 weeks, that is the core plan. With the new setup, it's 1,500 daily texts or 25,000 monthly. Usually we would expect probably 2 to 3 leads per day with this kind of setup, but it's not a rule, right? I don't want you to get stuck on any of these numbers because we also need time to build the pipeline for you. Sometimes you have quick success and it drops off. Depending on the season when you start marketing, it may take more or less time to build the pipeline. Overwhelmingly, is it like good quality data, and is your market overly saturated? We can even help you do the market research, show you, how saturated your market is based on our experience. And I hope that, all of these things will benefit you, but I wouldn't want you getting stuck on any of these numbers per se, because they only say or they tell a part of the story. So if you have any questions about any of this, we can dive into it. Even when we start on the service, many people keep asking questions like, what can I expect with this? Well, now you've seen my data. What can you expect? What do you see with other investors? We are not forbidden from disclosing this information, so we will gladly share it. And you can kind of figure out where you're standing, or we can even tell you how well you're standing compared to others. So that is a little bit when it comes to what makes us different. Um, if you want to take a moment to scan this QR code from your phone, um, you can learn a little bit more about us and what we do in a little bit more detail, maybe watch some testimonials as well and see what people have to say, right? Not just what we as the ones working on it day to day are saying. If you need more social proof, we even try to, connect you with some of the investors that are happy with the program. It's not always possible because they run their own business operation, but you can talk to us, you can talk to our sales. Um, so, it's a pleasure as well, Mario. Thank you. So if you took the time, I guess the last piece is related to whether this is right for you or not. In the end, the decision comes to you if you like it or not, if you feel like this will bring value to you or not, based on everything you heard and, heard from others, not just us. Uh, Ask yourself or yourselves some of these questions that we touched up on in more detail, but, is anything taking away from my time? Um, am I happy with my life and where my work is at? Do I feel like a business owner that put their business on autopilot, right? Some of the questions that are not in here that I think might be important to ask, like, am I spending too much time training my team, making sure they do their job well? Uh, any of these questions can help you figure it out. So I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. I just wanted to thank you all for, and Sadie as well. Thank you to our moderator, Marco, to our marketing team for putting this together, to all of you that spent time with us. And I hope to see some of you on Thursday as well, where we will touch up on it a bit more with Robin as well, and how that disposition part can also work out. Um, Thank you all. Are there any final questions by chance? I will leave it. I'm not sure what typing speeds we have here, but I can wait a little bit for the typing, or you can raise your hand. You can speak up if you want. But basically, this wraps it up. I hope that you found it beneficial for you and that it will get you thinking, and in the end, that it will be helpful to you. So thank you for joining us on this Land Week 2026. Wishing you all the best in your land investing business as well as in your lives. And thank you. See you on some other occasion. Sadie, you have any final words?
You covered it. Yeah, thank you guys. Hope to talk to you again on yeah, some other time.